that brings us to the next point in the conversation around data. And as you can see, there's lots of different ways to fetch the data, consume the data, and start doing things with it, which is what the next piece of this is all about. So what I wanted to do was just talk to you a little bit first about how Microsoft is looking at data at the moment. And this little slide, I can't remember the exact term that they give it, but I think they call it their data transformation flywheel. But it's their actual core mission statement at the moment of Microsoft, these 4 pillars: to engage students, to optimize operations, to empower employees, and transform products. So right at the core of Microsoft's current corporate mission is to help you as institutions or companies out there to get more out of their systems, their data, and to empower people to do more. And right at the heart of everything is data. And as you've seen from Graham's demo, the ability to collect information around how students are engaging with various areas of the university, bringing that data back into a central hub where we can start applying intelligence. We can start looking at, as you were saying, the consumption or redemption of meals against what was available, the management of vendors, etc. If we didn't have access to that data, we couldn't excuse me, optimize the way that we order, the way that we forward plan, the way that we buy things. And if you just think about crowd control, as Graham was talking about in COVID times, saying we need to limit people and how many people in a certain area at one time, not having data is going to be incredibly difficult to do that. And so really as we are working with systems, we need to ingest that data and then do something with it, empower people to do something, bring that data back in, and more and more and more. And we've spoken here about access control and about student security, but if you just think about, as an example, the rapid shift to online learning and digital first education, we've got some very interesting things to think about around how engaged are students with digital content, as an example. And so we've got a whole new data universe to look at. It wasn't necessarily something that you worried about when you had a classroom full of people that you were lecturing, because they were all there and theoretically you had their attention. Having been one of those people, I can tell you that you definitely don't have their attention all the time. But online now we've got this huge barrier because they're not here, they're not in front of me, I can't see them. And so we need to look at different signals, at different ways of engaging. And so we need to go and as we augment our products and we say, look, our core learning product is now being provided over a brand new channel with all new kinds of nuances and new things, I need to know how students are engaging with that channel. I need to understand that. And so data sits right at the core, because if we understand that, if we can collect that, we can then start optimizing. We can further transform our products. We can say, look, even webinars, this particular webinar is probably the last one that we'll have in this format. We're changing how we do things and saying, well, people don't have an hour or 2 hours to sit in a room and watch a webinar. We want to split it up into bite-sized chunks that people can engage with the content that they want, because they have 5 minutes making a cup of coffee or whatever the case may be. And so everything is changing and shifting, but you can't do that unless you have the data. So really super important. Then Microsoft take that data and put it into, just to give you kind of an idea of the scale and proportion, they put it in the single Microsoft Cloud, where we have Dynamics, which is some of the technology Graham has shown today. We've got Office 365 that most people are aware of, but really just Office, email, and a whole bunch more. Microsoft, of course, own LinkedIn, which is really important from an alumni point of view, from executive education and those kind of things, because we have a new channel of data to go and look at potential clients and all that kind of thing. And then we've got the Azure platform, which is where everything is hosted. That's the engine room in the sky, so to speak. And Microsoft put all this data into something they call the Common Data Service, which it's a huge deal. What it means is that Microsoft are thinking about, as they scale out their technology, as they scale out the solutions and things that they offer, they're putting everything into this one central common data service that we can use that data with other systems, with other applications. So Graham's talking there about meal management, saying, I want to bring in card taps because we need to manage meals. You know, we need to manage who's uptaking what meal. But while I have that card tap, who else is interested in this data? You know, do we need to know that from a security point of view, from a crowd control point of view? Do we need to know that from a, you know, potentially we understand that maybe in a harassment case where we know that a student is being harassed by another student, if they're in the same proximity, could we fire off a warning to the student that's potentially being harassed to say, look, you know, look out. There's lots of different things, you know, in the primary and secondary space. We're talking about simple things like, you know, if mom and dad arrive at the gate, send a message off to the student to say, hey, mom and dad is here to pick you up, so that we can control who gets to pick up and we can control access. So having access to that data is not just about putting in one place that nobody has access to it, it's putting it in the common data service that any application, any piece of system that cares about data in that space can pick it up, can do something with it, and we have a fully integrated environment. And that's the vision of Microsoft's Dynamics platform. And I've put data in the center because it's really, that is at the center. So in the Dynamics world, you've got a whole bunch of capability around functional capability around servicing students and clients, selling to them through, let's say, traditional mechanisms like you know, the business schools or whatever the case may be. But even in a large scale basis, you know, how do we do marketing to students? How do we bring them in? How do we attract them? At the moment, it's silly season, everybody's applying, and the registrars are working off their feet. So, you know, how do we start engaging and helping and supporting that process? And so we can talk for days on this slide, but it's really every single piece of the puzzle that you would need to run an efficient operation sits within this Dynamics platform. And of course, if, for example, you're using ITS to do student management and maybe some finance and supply chain kind of things, then that's okay. You know, that's a piece that's third party. We've got to integrate it into this Dynamics platform and start working with it. And we do that all the time. So one doesn't have to have this whole picture to get the benefit. We can bring in your various systems that you have in potentially each one of these pillars into this platform and then start augmenting it with the rest of the Dynamics suite. And all around here, you see the rest of the Microsoft offering. And this is where Microsoft really separates itself out from all the other vendors available, because we need to make sure that we're connected to your email. Because when I'm sending emails to students or responding to issues that they might have on the ground, I'm doing that through Office 365. And so I've got to bring that into one environment and see if we can do more with it. When we need to extend the applications, we need to start doing expense tracking and leave management and whatever, sending out memos or whatever the case may be, we can use Power Apps and automate to automate workflows, to create little applications that solve very specific niche problems that don't deviate from that central system point of view. So we can have a whole long conversation around Power Apps, and Power BI is the platform that Graham showed you. You know, turning data into intelligence, turn it into a report, visual. You know, you can see the trends, you can see what's going on, make some decisions. The minute you turn data into something visual, you sense something new, you sense something about it, and you can go and explore. Then on this side, we've got the rest of the intelligence platform, and these are some of the products that Microsoft are creating around artificial intelligence infused applications. So they're just saying, well, hey, in the customer service side, as an example, why don't you deploy a virtual bot to take care of some of the initial workload of requests and queries that are coming in, and we can then deal with that in an automated bot sense, and then offboard that back to a human being to continue the conversation. So it's a massive, fully integrated platform with tons and tons and tons of capability. Right, let's move on to the next piece. And so what I wanted to do here is just talk a little bit about this data platform and again, center on the students. And here we've got Taelo. He's a current student at one of our campuses. And here's again, a Dynamics record with all Taylor's data. So I can see his contact information, I can see his email address, I can see that he pays for his own tuition, he's the account payer. I can see that he also works at the moment at Ogilvy as an example. I can see his ID number, marital status, whatever I need to know about him, where he lives. And I can also see the context of who he is and where he is in our process. So he might be going through a current application process to come and study with us. And we can see that some student advisor or somebody's busy engaging with him, or potentially is online and trying to do an online application. So we're gathering as much information about Tayola as we can, and as Popio would allow us to do. We're bringing that into one central place. And throughout the entire life cycle of that student with us, we want to bring that data in, the card taps that Graham was speaking about, the lead information from marketing. Where did they come from? What advertising campaigns did they come through, so that we can determine return on investment on the marketing side. We want to know, where did they originate? Which faculty are they interested in studying with? What kind of qualification are they looking to get? This can start talking through a whole long journey about the student. If they come in looking for a higher certificate, we could potentially upsell them to an advanced certificate, a diploma, an undergrad, a postgrad. These students each are on their journey, and we need to, the more we understand about them, the more we can tailor offering, messaging, etc. to them to help them on their journey towards success. We can also see things like their web interaction with us. So this is just showing you some data that's coming in from the website. Did they go on a certain web page? Did they fill out a form? Did they register for a webinar that we're offering? How are they working with us in an online sense? We can see this is an example of their journey with us. So if you set up very specific journeys that you want to go through, marketing journeys as an example, where if I create a new request for application, then I get an application form. Do I fill it out? If I do fill it out, then what happens? Do I get an email saying, hey, thanks for applying, we're going to get in contact with you? And how do we digitize that whole process? How do we make sure that it's as automated as possible, so that we can provide really seemingly one-to-one level service and engagement, but do that across thousands and thousands of students at any one time? Here's an example of us reaching into ITS to go and fetch Taylor's information, what he's busy studying at. Maybe we want to look at bursaries that he's applied for and been granted. Maybe we want to see academic records. So it doesn't have to reside within Dynamics. It can reside within other systems like ITS or other platforms, and we can bring that data in one central location. We can then also, on the asset side, and to tee that up, if we're issuing assets to students for specific courses or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't have to be a physical assets or a piece of computer equipment, it can also be software assets like a user account or whatever the case may be. We can start managing those things and saying, well, in this case, we're issuing a laptop to Taylor, and we want to make sure that we understand what he's doing with it. Is it in warranty? So that if something goes wrong, we can fix that. So I think the idea that I'm trying to demonstrate here is that these are real-world examples of things that we're doing with institutions out there to centrally control data, centrally manage it, bring it into one place so that I can do more with it. And here's an example of a newish module that Microsoft have introduced in the Dynamics platform called Customer Insights. And basically what it is we take all of that data from Dynamics, from Office 365, from your student information management system, from wherever, and we put it into the cloud, and we start creating lots and lots of inferences. Like we can see, as an example, his food interest coming from the meal management platform. We can see how much he spends potentially around in different areas of the institution on books and stationery and all kinds of things that we might be offering. Maybe even merchandise, turn it into a real experience. I don't think we do enough of that in South Africa. Look at their value. What kind of courses is Taylor buying from us? Is he doing short course-based work? Is he doing long degree academic programs? What is this person to us, and therefore how can we respond in the best possible way? And so all of the interactions, the emails that are being sent, everything, if we can bring that all into one place, we can start really servicing Taylor in the best way possible. And so that's super, super key bringing data in, and I hope we've kind of unlocked some of that for you.